Welcome to Slow Down to Speed Up. I'm Brian Wang, an executive coach who helps startup founders grow by working through their biggest challenges. On this show, I sit down with founders for a one-time coaching session where you will hear things my guests never say elsewhere because they're working through real-life, current leadership issues. When we struggle, we're often tempted to find a quick solution, and sometimes that's all we need. But when we're finding ourselves stuck in those really tricky, recurring problems, that's when it's time to slow down. Because breaking through to the next level requires us to examine what patterns may be holding us back and what new perspective might be called for. I ask everyone who comes here to dig deep and trust that through this work, they will discover something new about themselves and how to move forward with their business. I hope you find something valuable in what you hear today for your own journey. Have you ever found yourself staring at an endless to-do list, thinking about all you haven't done yet, and feeling a sense of overwhelm, and that perhaps this struggle means something negative about you? You're not alone. That is the challenge that my client, Jordan Taylor, brings to today's session. Jordan is CEO of Medley, which provides group coaching and leadership development for growing enterprises. As I coach her, Jordan describes the things she's supposed to do. Don't overcommit. Say no. Work on the important things. But rather than come up with strategies on becoming more efficient, we take things in a different direction. And what we encounter turns out to be much trickier than your run-of-the-mill productivity hacks. Let's listen in. Hey, Jordan, great to see you.
Great to see you, Brian. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here with you. Just to do a quick intro on who you are, I'm really excited to introduce you. This is Jordan Taylor. She is the co-founder and CEO of an awesome company called Medley, which does group coaching for leaders, helping them level up and really be at their best as they're leading teams and companies. And it's a little bit of meta, of course, because we're talking today. Here for some coaching, and just also for some context. You and I have known each other for a while now, right? We've worked together for some time. I've seen you do, incredible work, as you've gone and just grown yourself through the journey. So I'm tickled to do this with you here. And so, yeah, that's the quick intro on you. And I just want to, get warmed up with you and ask, like, what are we here for? Why are we talking today?
Well, thank you, Brian, for having me in this discussion. And there's a lot we could talk about, even though we have been working together for a few years now. I think it's been interesting for me to continue to always have something that I'm working on. So what I'd love to dig in today is an experience I'm having where I am really trying to lean into a moment of change. My organization is going through some exciting change. We hired a couple of new people that started last week. We have a pretty exciting, challenging, busy next 6 months and beyond. And I'm in the process of driving organizational change to lead us through that period. At the same time, there are things that I have been working on, and I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated because I feel like I have invested a lot in trying to, whether it, be more organized, trying to spend my time with more intention than I feel like I am, trying to even just be more on top of follow-ups and communications with people. And these have been things that I have been saying I wanted to change for a long time, and I have not been able to do it. I'm making progress, but not enough.
Yeah. So just the first thing I'm struck by is you started by talking about the organizational change that Medley's undergoing, big transformation underfoot, making big decisions, and then you link that back into your own change. Like, it sounds like you're looking at this company and you're like, oh, wow, it's really going to look different. We're really going to go to a new place. And you're tying that into how do I want to change as part of that, or even just for myself, right? So I'm wondering, like, if I suspect we're going to link both of those and kind of go back and forth a bit today. But you mentioned the frustration. Can you say a little bit more first, like, talk about when you imagine the change that you hope to see on your end. The ideal world, what does that actually look like? And then, as you sort of talk about your attempts, your efforts to get there, like what the frustration's been about.
So what does that actually look like? Well, I think if I could wave a magic wand, I would wake up tomorrow and things would just be different. And
Different how?
I would look ahead at my day, feel confident that I am spending every minute on the most important things that I should be spending time on. I would have an experience that is more driving and pushing things forward than reacting and responding,
Yeah,
13 hours of the day.
right.
I would be more fulfilled from that.
Mhm.
I would feel more present, more in the moment. And I'd also be really showing up with people and for my team and for all the people that I engage with on a daily basis with more presence and integrity.
Mm. And just on that last part, like, when you say showing up for your people with presence and integrity, um, as opposed to what? Like, what does it feel like? How does it feel like you're showing up to them
Feels
now?
like now I am managing a to-do list that will never end, which is the life of a startup CEO. So I fully have accepted, maybe not fully, but I, in theory, have accepted that
Mhm.
and signed up for it.
Yeah.
And that is getting in the way of me being able to do deeper work,
Yeah.
like thinking,
Yeah.
writing,
Mhm.
providing feedback on things.
Right.
I'm constantly rushing from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting
Mhm.
without space.
Yeah.
And that's hard for people who I engage with because I know that I could be more prepared. I know I could do things differently.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating.
Yeah. Okay. So let me offer a reflection, and see what part of this lands. So I'm going to contrast, kind of two orientations or ways of being. Like, one, I hear the ideal is that you said there's this intentionality that you know what you're focused on each day. There's I don't think you use this word, but you know why you're doing the thing you're doing, and there's a fulfillment, right? Which suggests that there is some purpose, right, that you're ultimately fulfilling. And so the image I have in my mind is you having a destination that you're driving toward. It's like, this is the vision, the promised land. If I'm like driving somewhere, I'm going from point A to point B. I know where my point B is on the map, right? And so everything that I'm doing is organized around getting to that endpoint, right? Yeah.
Can I
Sorry.
interrupt for a second?
Yeah, yeah.
I think in my experience, it feels more like I know where I'm going. I
Yeah.
see the future and I'm in a car and not holding on, not able to control the wheels. And it's like the earth is sort of tilting and then there's a rainstorm and then this part of the car isn't working and I'm like trying to hit the accelerator, trying to go right because I know that I need to go right. And nothing's happening. I'm sort of reacting. And so I'm like, how do I fix the car or fix something with how I'm driving
Mm.
so I can go to where we need to go?
Uh-huh. So it's like the something about the vehicle itself and like the environment is like getting in the way of getting to this destination that you actually can see.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so that in that analogy, what feels like the wheels not turning or the earth being uneven?
What's coming up immediately is my time, is just the pulls on my time, and I'm trying to think through what what specifically in terms of it is actually like occupying space and energy.
Mhm.
And it feels a bit like a short-term, long-term challenge where the things that I'm doing every day are very high urgency, not necessarily the most important, but high urgency. And so those things get done
Mhm.
at the sacrifice of the more important things that are more long term.
Mhm.
Um, and then I would say there's something in me that's even just around me saying no to doing things. So
Mm. Yeah.
like
That's that's just a
if I look at just my calendar and how I invest my time,
yeah.
which is my it's like my only real resource that I have,
Yeah.
not my only, but a critical one. I have this fantasy that I can do everything, that I can get everything done. I can just work a little bit faster,
Mm.
and actually, I can't.
Mhm.
And I don't really want to believe that.
Yeah.
And so I keep saying, "Yeah, I'll get that to you on
Uh-huh.
Thursday. Yeah, I'll meet you for lunch.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I will, try to write out my thoughts on XYZ."
Right.
And it's like pretty unrealistic.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like on an intellectual level, you can look at the behavior and say, "Okay, saying no feels important. Um, I do have a limited amount of time each day, like all of us do." And you're noticing yourself being reactive, saying yes to things, adding to the to-do list, working on the urgent and not the important, right?
Mhm.
So let's stay there for a second. You're seeing yourself do this, right? You're seeing yourself not saying no. You're seeing yourself choosing to go after that kind of more urgent sort of feeling thing, right? So let's pretend now that you were saying no to the requests that are coming in. And let's say that you can notice the things that feel urgent, but instead of saying yes to those, you'll say, not right now. I'm going to go work on the important things, the important thing that's going to actually get me closer to that destination. And if you just take a moment to imagine that's how, like, that's the space that you're living in, like, what comes up for you? How does that experience in your mind strike you?
I can see I can see myself feeling happier on the one hand that I have a more realistic, in touch way of being with what is possible
Uh huh.
in the constraints of time. And
Yeah.
also, you know, I intellectually know that this would unlock a lot.
Right.
Um, but I emotionally am worried about letting people down and them not valuing me because I'm not doing something, or I say I can't do something. Um, and so it's kind of this people pleasing situation, and it's just this trap that I feel
Mm,
where I on the one hand I'm saying, "Oh, I need to be more intentional with my time."
right.
But on the other hand, I've been saying this for years, and I'm a broken record to anyone who will listen to me about this. And people have told me, like,
Yeah.
"You've been saying this. Like, you control your calendar. Change it." And yet nothing has happened. And it's
Yeah.
just
I can hear the frustration.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So one, I hear that you're really present to some impulse to not let people down. And
Mhm.
that feels important to me just in hearing you. So let's hold that. But I'm really noticing the frustration that you're directing toward yourself at not having changed this. Can
Yeah.
you speak more to that?
Yes. I feel deeply that I don't I just I'm angry with myself that I have not been able to do these types of simple things. And that in itself is part of the problem. It's very difficult to go through, to be in a car where there's a song playing on repeat that's like, you aren't driving the car well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to go right. Just turn the wheel. Why aren't you going right?
Yeah.
Just going on and on and on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, how do I not only start moving the car to go towards this destination,
Yeah.
but also make the drive like more enjoyable? Like, I want to put on some music that is like calming and fun, and that's what I'm listening to.
So how often is the soundtrack the thing that's yelling at you? Is that the thing? Okay, so it's like you're driving and you're hearing you're not doing a good enough job here.
Like this morning, I woke up at 6:15. I had to get into the city for an 8:45 meeting. I had to walk our dog, Howie. And I wanted to go for a run. I had plenty of time to do both of those things because I got up at 6:15. I was going to run to the city. And I didn't get out of bed for an hour. And since 7:15 a.m., it's 2:30. Every 10 minutes, I'm like, oh, you wasted so much time this morning. How did you not get a run in before you went into the city? Like, you ruined this day by not getting out of bed earlier. And never mind the fact that I got up and worked out in the morning on Monday and Tuesday. And I'm not trying to go to the Olympics. If I work out 3 days a week, that is a win. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. But the voice in your head is saying that's not good enough.
And that's like 6:30, 6:45, 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning.
Yeah.
I'm already starting at minus 30 points.
What happens to your what happens to your system when that voice is in your ear? What do you notice happening?
I'm tense right now. I'm tense right now reliving this experience. Like, I feel physically tense. I feel anxious. I feel also a little bit of like, okay, I need to go do something now. I need to go prove that I can do anything.
Yeah. Proving to who?
The evil person. The soundtrack isn't even real.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm laughing, but it is not like it's a very difficult experience. Last week I had an experience like this where I spent 2 hours in the morning doing nothing and I was sobbing hysterically before I went to work, and then I had to just pull it together. The day
and the sobbing because you were beating yourself up over it.
Yeah. So feeling so overwhelmed, so frustrated.
Yeah.
And just panicked that I managed to waste so much time.
Yeah.
And this is from 6:30 to 8:30 a.m.
Right. Yeah. So we're mixing analogies here, but you mentioned how this is kind of like, like the soundtrack is just like really aggressive. I just imagine like you're putting the car in all different sorts of gears and the gears are just grinding.
Yeah.
It's hard to move because there's just all this friction.
Yeah.
There is that voice that's saying you're not doing whatever variation of enough is, right? And then it's kind of like it paralyzes.
It's true.
What do you notice right now in your experience just as we're engaging with this? And you said there was some tension. Is that tension still there?
Yes. I also feel some sadness because I feel a genuine fear that I'm not going to be able to shift the way I experience my day to day.
Yeah.
So I feel sad about that because I feel like it occupies a lot of my energy. A lot of my brain is just like criticizing and pushing and frustrated.
Yeah.
And when you meet people that are angry towards others and they're just like You can feel it. You can feel they're just
Yeah.
kind of an angry person.
Yeah.
I'm like the opposite. I feel like I've been smiling this whole time while I describe how I'm, like, sobbing in bed at 8 a.m. for no reason.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy for me to be very warm with others, but inwardly, it's like I'm a grumpy,
Yeah.
angry, mean, not even angry, mean
Mm,
person.
yeah. Or
Um,
this particular voice, right?
yeah.
That's kind of like meting out the punishment.
Yeah.
It feels really mean. Yeah. And the part around where it feels like you won't be able to shift out of that. I think that makes a lot of sense, that why you would feel some fear, some sadness around that, right? If it's been going on for so long and it's hard to see a way out, then I can imagine that would bring up some of those feelings. So that makes a lot of sense. And so I wonder if we can move a little bit closer to this actual critical voice. Like our tendency is to say, "Oh my God, this thing is punishing me," and I want to do everything possible to make it stop. But I wonder if we can maybe try on some curiosity here
Mhm.
and really go and see, just kind of figure out what it's about, right? So when you're hearing the voice, right? Like how do you become aware of its presence? Like where do you notice that show up in your body?
Hmm. Doesn't really go away, but maybe my shoulders, my hips, just, yeah, I would say like the center, more towards the center of my core.
Yeah. And how would you describe it? As like a tension or like a
Yes. More like
tightness?
just, yeah, tension and tightness and just very rigid.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So it's really like stiff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So if you just place your attention there for a moment, right? And let's have you try this. Let's interview it a little bit. Let's try to get to know it a little bit. Right. So okay, we know what it does. Yells at you, tells you like you're not doing a good enough job. Right. Like what's its intent? What is it trying to do here?
Get me to do things.
Yeah. And what make
Literally to get me to like motivation, I think.
uh-huh.
So to get me to get out of bed and walk Howie, um, to get me to prepare for a meeting, to get me to write things down. Um,
So there are a whole bunch of tasks that feel like, I'm guessing even you can agree, you want to do.
mhm.
Yeah. And so it sounds like the way it's really trying to get you to do that is to just go yell at you. Jordan, get going. You're not doing this fast enough. You've been sleeping for 15 minutes. Now it's been 30 minutes, so on and so forth. Yeah. And so what makes it think that yelling at you is really the most efficient way here to motivate?
I think that I think I'm naturally a lazy person. I don't think that's true, but in my mind, I think if I'm left to my own devices, I
Uh-huh.
just won't do anything. I will sit on the couch and
Okay.
just not do anything. So
Okay.
I think that this has been how I've tried to get myself motivated to just do anything.
Is that how you ended up starting Medley? You noticed you were lazy and then you yelled at yourself to go start the company?
No.
Uh-huh.
Funny enough. Definitely not. Um, because I also like doing difficult things. So I'm not actually, I have not a lot of examples in my past of choosing not to do the thing or to do anything. And many of my most meaningful experiences have been me actively seeking challenge.
Name a couple
So
of examples just to activate this a little bit.
I was a junior in college and I joined the crew team and was
Mhm.
a varsity lightweight rower for 2 years. I had
How come?
never done crew before.
Yeah,
I
what got you
really
excited
missed
about
being
that?
on a team. I wanted to try something new, and I liked it. It was fun. It was hard, but it
What was
was
the most fun part of it?
just being out there, being out on the water.
Uh-huh.
And I loved having the structure of just knowing I had practice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
I loved feeling like I was learning something new. I
Yeah.
loved doing that with other people and getting to know the other people.
Yeah.
I liked feeling and seeing myself make progress in a pretty measurable way.
Yeah.
I liked like being outside.
Sure.
And yeah, it was a highlight of my college experience for sure.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and everyone thought I was nuts because only other freshmen were walking on who had no idea what college was actually like. I had
Mhm.
college as a non-athlete and was like, no, I miss the structure. I miss that process.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So great. So it sounds like that you said it's the highlight. You really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
You kicked your butt probably, and it was just a lot of challenge to it too, but there was so much that you appreciated and enjoyed about that. Yeah. And let's just take another example. So like maybe it's medley, maybe it's something else. Like let's find another way or another example where you went after something that was really exciting, fulfilling.
Um, I mean, medley is definitely exciting for me, and it has been. I I had no idea what it would actually be like to try to build a company. And I knew it would be challenging. I had worked at an early stage startup before I went to business school, and I worked really closely with the CEO, who's still a good friend. And I saw just how intense the experience was for him. And I still thought and do want to do it. I view the intensity as something that um, I'm seeking out and moving towards.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so
So
definitely.
okay, so you just gave me two examples where you saw something that was challenging and exciting and you went after them, right? Which seems to really fly in the face of this narrative of you being lazy.
Yeah. I also like running, and I've run a bunch of half marathons, like
Yeah.
maybe 15 or something like that. I don't even know.
Okay.
And yeah, I have a lot like yeah.
This doesn't sound like someone who's lazy when they're just left to their own devices, by the way.
Yeah, I there's the logical brain and there's the other brain that does not think very clearly. But in my head, a common story that I will agree it's probably not very valid, doesn't have a lot of legs, is that if I don't really push myself, I won't do anything and I will just atrophy and just like sit on the couch.
Where'd you learn that?
Um, could be because I played a lot of sports as a kid. And so if you stopped playing a sport or practicing or running, that does happen to your body. But I would say my childhood is just more generally, I had a lot of activities and a lot of structure to my day that was imposed on me, things I liked, but I would have school, I would have taekwondo, ballet, piano, tennis, soccer, ice hockey. Like I did a lot of different activities. And so
Yeah.
I had a lot of structured time.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a lot of unstructured time where I was just sort of existing.
Right.
And so maybe as part of that, I thought, okay, I don't have a practice to go to right now, so I am going to sit on the couch, which makes sense because I was probably tired, but I'm not.
Right. I was just starting to think, like, at what point are you resting here?
Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up around a lot of structure. There's all these different
Mhm.
things you were going back and forth, from, to, etc. By the way, it sounds a little bit like your to-do list today, but I digress. Um, okay, so nowhere in there am I hearing real evidence that Jordan Taylor, like, when just is left to exist, becomes some sort of, motivationless blob. Like, I don't hear any of that.
Yeah, me neither.
Let's try something. This might not translate well in the podcast, but whatever. So, like, just take a moment to just do nothing right here. Just be here with me, and just, like, tune into how it feels to be here. Tune into your internal sensations, right? No, like, thing that you have to do absolutely right now. There's no one yelling at you right now to do anything. What impulses do you notice come up? What urges do you notice come up right now?
I wanted to have a sip of water because I have a water bottle next to me. I actually had an urge to stand up. Um, I was thinking about how little time I give myself to do nothing.
Hmm.
Actually, even though I
Yeah.
end up doing nothing as a result of trying to avoid something. Um,
Wait, you do nothing to avoid something? Sorry.
yeah, like I think this morning I was probably tired and I didn't feel like going for a run. And
Huh.
that's why I didn't get out of bed. And like I think when you
Try something. Try fully owning what you just said. Enjoying the fact that your body was saying, "I'm tired, and I just decided to go spend some more time in bed." Just give that a try.
I
Rather
was
than make this
tired
like a
this
shameful
morning.
thing.
I was
Yeah.
tired. And so I decided to give myself a little bit more time in bed in the morning before starting my day.
Yeah. How did that feel?
Luxurious.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Feels very kind. Feels um like also pretty reasonable.
Luxurious, kind,
Doesn't
and
feel,
reasonable.
yeah, doesn't feel that um feels a little off brand for me,
Off
but
brand from,
also
like, the mean, like,
yeah,
what do you, yeah.
and just like how could I possibly waste that much time doing nothing?
Yeah.
Um but also feels better to frame it that way because I I think that probably I was tired. And if I wasn't tired, I would have gotten up.
Right.
Um and so maybe it's not that I didn't get up because I was just lazy
Yeah.
and like don't have enough discipline. Maybe it was that I didn't feel like getting up and I felt like sitting in bed and looking at Instagram and New York Times and just
This is making me wonder, Jordan. So we've been talking about how this, this internal critic yells at you constantly, and it makes me wonder, like, how much of the yelling is getting in the way of you just recognizing the needs that you have and taking care of those needs. How much is it preventing you from just fully owning your decisions?
a lot. It's definitely preventing me from doing that because I'm not behaving as though I have needs that are valuable or should be valued and are important.
Hmm.
and behaving instead like I need to do as much as I possibly can, and that's the only thing that matters, and
Yeah.
that's the only sort of indicator of how good I am or how effective I am or anything.
What's coming up for you as you're saying that? Like, what are you feeling?
Um, I mean, I definitely I'm feeling like I am seeing this a little bit more clearly. I'm seeing it more clearly in the sense that I I do really value myself on how much I'm getting done and how productive I am, which is sad because I'm not very productive. And so every day I feel bad about myself that I'm
Mm,
not getting enough done on my list and I'm not valuing the things that I actually am doing and that I'm really great at. Like,
yeah.
and that's so it's I feel like I'm in a trap
Yeah.
because every day looking at a scoreboard and thinking, "Ugh, I said I was going to follow up on our benefit renewals by the end of the day and I haven't done it yet. Like today was a horrible day."
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm giving myself a scoreboard for something that I think is kind of unfair and also I'm always going to lose at because there's always going to be more things to do
Right. The
and
infinite to-do
not
list.
giving myself points for I had this great meeting with a customer. I had a great meeting with one of our colleagues. Like I'm really good at some things, and I don't give myself any credit for those things that
Yeah. So
I'm actually good
like,
at.
is there actually a point where, you will have been so productive in your days that now you feel good about yourself?
No, because the second you just cross something off the list, something else comes on the list, especially when you're not fully controlling the list. So
Yeah.
it's I'm setting myself up for failure
Yeah.
because I'm looking at the wrong benchmark or measure of that.
So since we're talking about benchmarks and measures, right? So if you were to say, okay, I am not going to measure the success of my days by some standard of infinite productivity. I'm not going to go rest my head, right before bed and say my day was a failure or success because I got some crazy amount of stuff done. How would you actually want to assess your days? How would you want to really rate the success or failure of your days if it weren't just this, you know, productivity thing?
It's like, oh, I had fun today. I learned something interesting. I am proud that I helped someone do something or learn something. I formed this new interesting relationship. I researched something that is interesting. I spent time with people I love, like my husband, my dog, my family, my friends.
Hmm.
Um, so many other things.
A lot of it, and what you just said, those things feel like they're really important to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are important to me.
Yeah.
But I've somehow in these moments I lose sight of that or I think feeling like I'm making progress, feeling like I'm in contributing and impacting Medley is also very important to me.
Sure.
And I think that's a challenge of operating at an early stage.
So let's bring it back to that. So
Yeah.
if it's not about I did everything on my to-do list and to infinity, right? Because there's that
Mhm.
infinite, right? With Medley, what's enough? Like, what's enough for a day?
I find it hard to answer that because my mind immediately thinks nothing is enough. Like I should be doing as much as I can in a given day. because we have a lot to do and limited resources and limited time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So no wonder every day you're thinking, oh man, this is not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're hitting on the thing that is driving a lot of the harshness and the criticism. You've like set yourself up with this game that is essentially unwinnable.
Mm-hmm.
Like some image of someone who's like infinitely productive, always perfect, always doing the thing that feels like you're checking off the next task, right? Always locked in. And somewhere along the way, you kind of lose sight of what you need, like in examples where you need rest. And also you lose sight of the things that are really, really important, both personally and to the company. Mm-hmm. Because the game that you're focused on is doing everything. Right? Because nowhere in there is there any definition of enough.
That really feels like it reflects my experience. And I'm thinking now, what are other games that I can focus on to try to distract and deflect away from this very impossible game that I've decided to play instead.
It's not about distracting. It's not about distracting and deflecting. That almost suggests that, it's still running the show.
It does.
But you run the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, you're the one who has to decide on what the game is.
I don't know if I can do it.
What's telling you that?
I don't know if I can really let go of this aspiration to be getting things done all the time. But at the same time, you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? And that's what I've been doing.
I can see the intellectual part of you coming on here. What's the scary part about letting go of this idea? What happens? Like, what happens if you let go of it?
I'm trying to figure that out. I don't yet feel like I have the belief that I can. But because it feels so core to me as a person. It feels like I don't feel like I have any distance between the critical voice in my head and who I am.
Yeah.
As Jordan. And so
So if you were to drop that, then you would lose Jordan.
Yeah. Or it's just, is that even possible? I mean, change is possible with humans.
You do run a coaching company after all.
I do believe that I believe I have the capacity to grow, and I'm learning, growing all the time in a lot of different ways. So why is this one thing different from all the other ways that I believe I can? And the way I believe other people can grow and learn.
Right.
Maybe I just need to try.
What would that look like?
Maybe I could, every time I feel the criticism coming, tried to ignore it or think of something else. I'm still kind of deflecting, but or say, I'm letting go. Like,
Have you tried deflection and ignoring in the past?
no. Yeah, not really.
So how do you typically relate to it when you notice criticism?
I listen to it
And you what? You believe
and
it?
I just go down a spiral. Yeah. I just keep thinking. I had like an hour free before this and I was trying to finish something. And up until 3 minutes before, I was like, why haven't you been able to write this? You need to write it. Just true battering for 57 minutes. And then I stopped because I'm here now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I try to just focus on the thing. The voice shows up. It's very uncomfortable.
Right.
And it gets in the way of me doing what I'm trying to do because instead I'm beating myself up over the thing that I'm writing or doing or trying to focus on.
Yeah.
It has a lot of power in my mind. But I already am definitely taking away that if I believe I can change a lot of other things about myself and that other people can grow, I think I need to remember that, why should I be some exception to a core philosophy of how I think about people and humanity.
Right. And so, like, a lot of what we're talking about is, in essence, how you relate to this voice. Like recognizing that it is not you. It's a part of you that is trying to get you to do something, presumably with some positive intent, but it's taking on the strategy of yelling at you, right? Criticizing you. And as you've noted, it kind of beats you down, paralyzes you, right? And so then I think that the question just becomes, how do you start to relate to this voice in a way that creates some more spaciousness for you, right? Recognizing that you are not the voice. It's there. We can choose to relate to it in any number of ways. Believe it, argue with it, ignore it, right? Give it a snack and, put it in the backseat of the car to go back to the car analogy, right? But there's probably an infinite number of ways to engage with it. The first step is to even recognize that it's operating, right? And then from there, start to experiment. Like, how can I actually relate to this in a way that leaves me feeling more empowered than I currently am?
When you're describing that, it reminds me of I did a yoga teacher training in 2016, 200-hour one. And as part of that, we meditated for 30 minutes every day or more. And it's like basic principle of and sort of goal of meditation, or the way they would describe it, not even goal, but the process itself, imagining your thoughts kind of going through and you're observing them sort of going through and moving through your head and just bringing it back, and recognizing that you can choose to relate to the thing in whatever way you want. It can be a big, powerful thought, or it could be something that's just started dancing through and then it keeps going. And so I definitely feel now, and even just this, I do feel reminded that I do have some agency over how I choose to relate
Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
critical voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what you just said is huge. The agency part, right?
Yes.
Earlier you were saying, I don't even think I can, right? There's some
Yes, I
belief
felt
that like I'm
sad.
sort of, yeah, yeah. And so I think, to take this forward for you, what I would offer is maybe experiment with just that. Like, how can I actually have some agency in this
Mm.
relationship with this voice, right?
Yep.
What would that look like for you? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me know how that goes for you, please.
I will.
All right, Jordan. Thanks so much for spending the time with me today.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. Talk soon.
There's a lot to unpack here. Let me share my 3 major insights. 1. Our limiting beliefs hold incredible power over us. Jordan shared many, like doing everything means she's a good person, that she can't actually change, that she's inherently lazy, that she needs to be mean to herself to get motivated. These sort of beliefs don't happen overnight. They are conditioned into us over time. It's on us to identify our own limiting beliefs and see which of those we can let go of. 2. Emotional regulation is half the battle. It blew my mind the first time I heard that procrastination is not a time management problem, it's an emotional regulation problem. The issue with shaming and criticizing ourselves is that it's highly inefficient. It's like screaming at an athlete right before they make a play, kicking their nervous system into a dysregulated mess. We are far more efficient when we are calm, grounded, and self-compassionate. Finally, our parts need our attention. If you're familiar with parts work, you know that we are made up of many individual parts that serve different functions. Jordan shared how it felt like there was no distance between her and her critical voice. So the first thing is to pause long enough to see that that unhelpful voice is not who we are, but some part of our conditioning. Then, rather than ignore or fight it, I found that the key is to treat it with respect without buying into its story. That allows us to take back our agency while showing compassion for our quote-unquote less helpful parts. This can open the door to better understanding the critic and why it behaves the way it does. And that is the start of a profound and important healing journey, one that I think most founders can benefit from.
Thank you for listening to Slow Down to Speed Up. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate it in your favorite podcasting app. If you are a founder who would like help in reaching the next level through coaching, or if you'd like to come on the show, please contact me at dashingleadership.com.